Hello, fellow Toastmasters. I'm Reese Eskridge, and today I'm going to be talking about orienting new members in your club. There's also a complimentary sheet that will go with this and complement it nicely. Allow me to share my screen. Orienting new members. Now, it starts with the top for why conduct an orientation. Think about why people join Toastmasters, and there could be as many reasons as there are people. Typically, it's because they have a problem or a need pertaining to public speaking or leadership and are convinced that Toastmasters is a good fit. And when they have that inkling of persuasion, you can then begin to deliver the benefits of Toastmasters membership. There are resources for that as well. There are benefit sheets that Toastmasters offers, which you can include in a guest packet. But more about guest packets another time. Before new members can become components of your club's membership, they must confront anxiety. The anxiety of getting up and leading meetings or presenting a speech. A second anxiety would be the typical anxiety that someone would feel joining some unfamiliar group, a place where they have no acquaintances, no familiarity. So it's only fair to offer them the opportunity to voice their concerns and their opinions as well. Let them express themselves. If you allow them to be themselves, then they are acting authentically. You are more likely to get buy-in because you understand what the person truly wants and needs. And you can attest whether Toastmasters will, in fact, connect the dots for them and solve their problems. It is a volunteer organization. Toastmasters is a self-development program. Therefore, they have to be continuously invested in order to make it work. So you get out what you put into it. And they need constant reassurance. And it doesn't have to be verbatim direct. You can check in with them. But more importantly, it should come naturally. A Toastmasters relationship is organic. And people grow with the club, with other members, through mentorship, through education, through consultation, through simple social gathering, really, simple social interaction. That's often all it takes to establish rapport. To complement that, they would need specific information about the program, how it works, how to get the most from it, and what's expected of them. It's a two-way street in Toastmasters. Remember the Toastmasters promise, and there are also ethics and other protocols for people to follow. At a basic level, they would have to pay to be a member and come to meetings regularly, never practical. Finally, they need to feel welcome and at ease to sense the club really cares about them. So not only does the club recruit members for the purpose of getting a DCP point, they are actually interested in investing in this person at a bunch of different levels, whether it's financially or emotionally, educationally, or timely. You have to be willing to make all of those investments on behalf of a member. And if they sense that you're not doing all you can, they might just leave. An orientation is a more formal way to conduct acquaintance. It's a more formal way to facilitate a potential prospect becoming a member. Anxiety makes people skeptical. Confidence enables people to make decisions faster, smoother, and more assuredly. But you must be able to solve problems and meet their self-development needs. And they have to understand the club's purpose and structure. What is a club? How does it tie in with the international organization? What does a club meeting entail? Do they have a sample agenda? Do they have someone they can talk to, a go-to person from the club? They will identify more readily with the club and its members with that information. They'll develop a sense of pride and belonging. If there's a sense of pride comes from something that they like about the club or its members. Same is true for belonging. You have to feel like you're a natural part of the group. You have to feel like you're connecting easily. I know that's a big thing for me if I were to look for other Toastmasters clubs to join. I've been in Toastmasters clubs where people pay attention to some members more than others, which is not good. Everybody has to feel included. And when you do this, you create a social contract. A contract is a list of terms that both parties must follow. They must have cohesion as a result of this social contract. On behalf of the member, current members have to follow a Toastmasters promise, just as new members are expected to. In return, they get an enjoyable environment in which the member can learn. And enjoyable can mean any number of things. It can mean highly informative, engaging, fun, easygoing, social, active inside the club and out. In other words, they go to area, division, and district events, maybe even international events like the convention. You can also have more informal gatherings outside of the club, like parties or dining out or happy hours, anything like that. Make it more relatable to the member. When both parties live up to the contract, it will establish loyalty and allow them to get the most out of it. If either party breaks the contract, they're going to know it. And they're not going to be impressed. They might give you another chance in their mind, but if they feel as though their time can be invested in other things, chances are that's where they're going to invest it. The orientation establishes mutual understanding at all levels. You have to mutually understand the whole experience, not just the educational program or the potential members' experiences, but expectations about long-term membership, about what they can get out of the club, about what they could contribute to the club in the longer run as they become leaders and more influential speakers. And there has to be natural chemistry so that you feel these things: firm satisfaction and mutual benefit. There is a format as well and some tips. Let's run these down. Create a favorable climate. Do not conduct an orientation interview during a club meeting because it's not so much about that specific member, it's about the whole club. It's good to ask guests what they thought of the meeting, or Toastmasters who are looking to join another club, what they thought of the meeting, but that's only part of it. That's not bad for establishing initial rapport, but you have to take it more steps further. At one point, my club had practiced meeting with potential members and new members at restaurants or some other location that was predetermined outside the club meeting on off Wednesdays, because the club meets first and third Wednesdays. In the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month, you can use that for special purposes that do not require a formalized agenda. You can do whatever you want with that time. 15 to 20 minutes is a good length. And if it goes longer, that's actually a good sign, because it means you have established natural connection. If you find yourself talking constantly and the positive energy keeps building up, that's a great sign. And you want to be sure to close the sale in the end so that you get that confirmation that, yes, they're in it. A personal rapport, though, is what comes after creating that climate. Get acquainted, share your stories, discuss how your club has benefited you. If you find something that the interviewee says, jump on that. Don't interrupt on them, but jump on that. Establish that connection and say, oh yeah, I've been there, and this is what I did, and this is how it turned out. The STAR method is good for this. STAR is situation, task, action, and result. Describe the situation you were in, the task you had to do. What action did you take? What was the outcome? And maybe you can use the STAR method back to back as you Compare one situation that was horrible to another that was prosperous and just pristine. It was all around brilliant. Be attentive and show genuine interest. I touched on this just a moment ago. If you have genuine interest, you will know it. You will feel it. It will reciprocate. That is what will ultimately convince someone to join a club. If they feel comfortable with even just one other member, that could be enough to get them to join the club. Even if they have to pay a significant sum of money, roughly $100, let's say, initially. That includes the club fee, the Toastmasters International fee, and that one-time pathways fee to sign up for a path. Positivity and enthusiasm directly relates to that. The anxieties will be replaced by new positive self-confidence. You've already taken that first step in confidence, and the next thing you do is you get them to deliver their icebreaker, let them tell them about themselves. Then you move on to the next speech and the next speech, and then you start taking on one meeting role and the next, and you keep going up as if you're walking up a staircase. And sometimes you'd be amazed how fast some members walk up that staircase developmentally. Be knowledgeable. Just like a job interview, you want to prepare for an orientation interview for Toastmasters. Understand what questions they might have, be prepared with answers, and go with the flow. As you conduct the interview, there are 4 major steps. This says the first step is to determine the member's needs. This speaks for itself largely. The new member profile sheet, which is one of the resources I would use to complement it. In fact, I can briefly share it here. A member interest survey and new member profile sheet. Those 2 resources are invaluable to complement this. I suggest you use both. I covered the new member profile sheet in a previous video, so I won't touch on that again, but it was worth mentioning. Performance discrepancy. In other words, this is your opportunity to identify what the member is seeking and establish a unique selling point for that member. This is the difference between how someone would like to appear before a group as a speaker or leader and how he or she actually performs. It's hard to objectively analyze ourselves or evaluate ourselves. Toastmasters provides that environment where you have an external lens. In fact, many external lenses, because each member has a unique point of view, to give that feedback that is much needed, even if it's not wanted at first. The discrepancy is multifaceted. There are several areas in which improvement is warranted. There are a lot of distinct benefits that Toastmasters offers, and it goes beyond what is mentioned in the resources. These questions you want to ask: what objectives do you hope to accomplish? Public speaking and leadership skills are a requirement of your job or profession, or whatever your objective is. How would you describe your current skill level? Specific fears? Why did you join a Toastmasters club? What about this club made stand out to you? What can the club do to help you accomplish your goals? That's a big one. Do you wish to improve various abilities like persuasion or clarity or self-confidence, operating under pressure? And table topics is good for that. Skilled in group leadership, club executive committee is good for that. Listen effectively and critically. Tactfully evaluate someone's efforts, speech evaluations and general evaluations. Gracefully accept criticism. And others that are on the new member profile sheet. So when you have a good profile of the member, this is when you can establish that bond. A 3-faceted social contract. First, you relate to the performance discrepancy to the club's activities and what it can offer. Not just what the club can offer, but what specific members can offer. There may be someone who works in a specific field that's related to the new members field. By all means, connect them together. Put them together, maybe even as mentor and mentee, and say, look, I have this relatable story as a mentor to present to this mentee. I want to share that. And by all means, if a new member is sure to share something, they must have an opportunity to do that. And as the new member establishes acquaintance with one member, then another member, then two more, then another two, and then another one. They build up the relationships. It's more likely to stick in terms of membership longevity. They're going to stay with the club because of the people. The first part is kind of off the cuff. It's sort of like a table topic. If you think about it, you're presented with a prompt by the interviewee and you have to go with the flow. You have to find some clever way to close the sale or at least establish that rapport. And what they present, is it reasonable to expect the results this person seeks? Can training help this individual become the person he wants to be or what she wants to be? They may respond with an affirmative yes, and most likely they will, but perhaps they don't understand it deeply. That is part of your responsibility as a current member or a mentor of the club. You have to get them to understand what it really means to be a developing Toastmaster, a developing communicator, a developing leader. They're going to encounter things that they wouldn't have thought of at first, like the engaging humor path, for example. They don't know that humor speaking is like one of those 11 focuses in pathways. Be positive and realistic. So optimism can be blinding here. Just as too much darkness is blinding, too much light is blinding. So you want to find that middle ground. You want to shift more towards the light side, of course, but you don't want to turn it up so brightly that you lose sight of what matters or what you are capable of. So identify the situation. This example is delivering a verbal report at a weekly staff meeting in your company, and do so concisely and feel confident. And you'll be able to tell if a member's needs resonate with the Toastmasters experience or not. And even if it doesn't right away, maybe you can help them to break it down. If it's a sophisticated need that they have, break it down into simpler needs and try to put them in a logical order and say, look, this is the staircase you have in mind to get up to this level. This seems like a logical order. Therefore, this particular path and pathway sounds great for you. Or this club role sounds great for you. However you want to approach it. The second process is an explanation of the club's responsibilities. And you don't have to say this explicitly, although at some point you would have to make it official that say, look, as a Toastmaster, this is what you promised to do. This is what you're committed to. Just as we commit to your progress, we want you to commit to the progress of our club and its fellow members. Provide the members with opportunities to speak and lead, supportive evaluations, positive atmosphere, and it has to be evident that they build confidence. Yes, they're going to have bad moments every now and then. That's life. But in general, you want to see that upward trend in terms of confidence and skill building. Provide education programs that are stimulating and enjoyable, and this goes beyond pathways. In fact, there's even more to it than the area, division, and district events, because you can have some valuable content at those events, but it might not be specific to that member. It might not be the most convenient thing. Your district might have a YouTube channel with other content that may be more relevant to the member, his interests, his situation. So education programs should be tailored and they should be themed as well. You can present something from the Better Speaker series or the Club Excellence, the Successful Club series and the Leadership Excellence series. Those are sources of information that would be useful. Provide each new member with a mentor whenever practical, an experienced Toastmaster who you are confident can establish that natural connection with the new member. In the third process, you complete the contract by explaining what the club expects. So you end on a firm but positive note. Attend meetings regularly and fulfill all assignments. I mentioned that. Work from the education program. You can't do any other speeches that are not directly tailored to pathways, unless you have some kind of mutual arrangement with another club. But even then, you would still want to get official credit for it. Achieve education awards. And that is important for the DCP in the club. It's like if you're working towards this level in pathways, you may as well submit it to the club. Help us achieve our goals as you would achieve yours as well. Participate in all club programs and activities. You've got to be willing to volunteer and step up, especially when other people are not in the club. There may be an unfamiliar role that has to be filled in the club. As a new member, you are expected to step up when requested. And the same goes for club leadership. You got to serve as a leader when you're called upon to do so, especially if no one else steps up for it. Evaluate others positively and constructively. That's a big part. That's the most important part of any Toastmasters meeting. It has to be positive, constructive, and firm. It has to be valuable feedback, workable feedback that they can use ideally as soon as possible. Build open, friendly relationships with fellow members. Spirit, camaraderie, and caring are the catalysts that make meetings enjoyable. And the same goes for any out of club events as well, whether it's in Toastmasters or it's more of a social gathering. Help bring new members into the club. Toastmasters is challenging us to do this officially, actually. We have to keep the club strong and dynamic, and that means you have to remain personally strong and dynamic and share that with the club. Because if you start to get complacent and your energy level goes down, well, high energy or a lack of it is going to be contagious, and the club could deteriorate over time and not willingly or meaningfully provide as much value to members over time. So you have to keep up the work and the spirit and the connection. Try to move up in Toastmasters. Don't just settle for what you wanted initially. We want to encourage members to do things that they didn't think of. To be a leader means to inspire people to do more and to be more. And in Toastmasters, to say more as well and to share more, to participate more, to get more involved, to build themselves up in any way they can. That progressive point of view is what will make membership retention and recruitment come more naturally. And the club will retain its spirits, its high achievement, and its fine reputation as a result. Step 3, explain how Toastmasters works. This gives an overall picture of Toastmasters. It was founded in 1924 by Dr. Smedley. It's not headquartered in California anymore. This document requires a bit of updating. It's in Colorado now. Toastmasters offers its members a learn by doing workshop in which they can learn practice skills directly related to business. Let me remind you, a Toastmaster can choose whatever topic he or she wants for speeches or educational projects, which means they can speak about any topic that's relevant to them and see how it's relevant to other people. So not only is speaking going to get you educational credit, it will also be an act of service to yourself and to your fellow members and to others as well. If you decide to go beyond the club, you have to know when and where your club meets, whatever its policy is, its dues, and any other relevant details. The club addendum provides those details, and on Toastmasters, you should be able to go to find a club and actually find the club's details and be able to go to the club's website. It has to be easily and readily accessible. The homepage should feature all the information that a guest would need to understand, like where to go, when to go. How would you approach it? Maybe you could even put recommendations for new members. If you are a new member, here's what we do, or here's what you should do, and we will take care of you by doing X, Y, and Z. That assuredness is going to draw people in. Meeting assignment, explain the various roles. Club officers. And this might not come right away, but as people get to know each other, they want to understand what they do in Toastmasters and what they do outside of Toastmasters. So club officers can explain what they do if they are currently holding a role. They can share their stories as well. And that would convince Toastmasters to move up and therefore stay with the club and be there for the long haul, even during adverse times. Evaluation. Who performs evaluations? How long are their structure? What are the elements? Delivering an educational module for evaluations is a great way, especially to get new members acquainted with the process. Involvement. List all the opportunities. I mentioned many of these already. Speech contest, district conferences, convention, speechcraft, leadership opportunities, education program. We got an unwelcome house guest here, just so you know. That's why I went like this. Just drop from the ceiling. Back to business. Education program. Review the milestones, obtain awards, emphasize the awards are worthwhile, inform the member they will soon receive an email from Toastmasters. The traditional education program is an important part of every Toastmasters journey. Experiential learning, give speeches, fulfill leadership roles, self-paced program. We learn best at our own pace and comfort level. Peer feedback, that's good. Mentoring, yes. Experienced members encourage, guide, and support us in our goals and help us to achieve more than we thought possible. I have got to pause for a second. I will be right back because I have unexpected business to attend to. And I'm back. I had to take care of a stink bug that landed right next to me, made me a little distracted, even a little sweaty. I'll share my screen once again and get back on track. Let's see if I can find. There we are. Now, let me run through this once more. The traditional education program is an important part of every Toastmasters journey. It's the foundation of the club, really. I mean, if you have an agenda and you have speeches, you got to have speakers, you got to have evaluators, you got to have a theme, table topics. So speeches are absolutely at the core of the Toastmasters experience. Self-paced program. This is actually one of the better things about Toastmasters. You learn at your own pace. Everybody learns differently. Peer feedback. Honest and supportive peer evaluation. Mentoring. Experienced members encourage, guide, and support us in our goals and expect us to achieve and help us to achieve more than we thought possible. Absolutely. I didn't have much mentorship in Toastmasters. It took a while to do certain things, but you get through it even without much mentorship. But it is better if a club provides a mentor, especially right from the get-go. Pathways learning experience, I touched on that. I'm not going to touch on that a bit more. And finally, take action. Assign the experienced member to serve as the mentor. Arrange for the two to get together before the icebreaker speech. Then you can schedule it and download the project here. If your club has new member induction ceremonies, which it should, notify the club president. Arrange a follow-up interview after the fourth project. That's one recommended guideline. You might want to base follow-up on how long it's been, not after so many projects, in my opinion, because there are some Toastmasters who have not given their icebreaker until like a year or longer after they first visited the club or joined the club. So don't go strictly by what this says. You got to understand the member and when to follow up. If there's a concern you have, share it. If a member has a concern, let him or her share that. Absolutely. It doesn't have to be with the mentor. It could be with anyone. Purpose of the follow-up interview is to discuss the progress and reaffirm their commitment. Now I'm going to share briefly the member interest survey that complements this resource. You get the member name, the club name, 2 goals they wish to accomplish this year. These are the big goals. So you want to be broad. List 2 objectives you want to accomplish in the next few months. So you're thinking long-term and short-term. And it's good to know what each of these terms means. Critical thinking means the ability to think on the spot, to be able to assess different situations and approach them confidently. Meeting management is specific. Listening skills, that's something I have some difficulty with too. I often have my own thoughts constantly going through my brain, and I have to learn to focus up and pay attention. Leadership skills, that's a broad term. Communication skills, same thing, broad term. And on and on. And you want to tackle everything. Now, you won't expect people to know what speechcraft and youth leadership are immediately. So someone has to present that, or youth communication. Visiting other Toastmasters clubs, I would hold off on that until the member feels comfortable and satisfied with the current club, your club. And you want to consult the speech contest rulebook before discussing contest matters. And within the district is after some time in Toastmasters. Club quality characteristics, this is their evaluation. And you'll definitely want to pay close attention to that. And some more questions about the overall experience. What do you like most? What do you like least? What recommendations? Is there anything more specific you'd like to learn about? And this is a good question for a mentor to ask about specifics, because it goes beyond the education program, which does provide a lot, but not everything a member may be looking for. The natural organic connection you establish with a member and the orientation, which helps to put a frame around that, that's what's going to allow you to derive what the member most values, and therefore derive what you can best provide for them. And that concludes our session on membership orientation. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.